Everybody, we're all here for
Yes,
Scream.
and we're not dead.
Episode 4?
Four.
Aftermath.
All takes place after math class this week.
Bibbs and Francis and Alonso.
Still got it.
Sadly, yes. You should see a doctor about that. So I kind of like the Nancy Drewishness of this episode.
This is the episode where I feel like we're starting to get a little bit more on track. We do two things in this episode that I thought were great. One was you finally took advantage of the serialized format to show you an aspect of a slasher movie that we never get to see in the films, which is mourning. The mourning process. Slasher movies, as they mentioned on the show before, they tend to take place over the course of a very short span of time.
Yeah.
The killer attacks and then kills a bunch of people, and then once people figure out there's a killer, it's usually over pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Here, people die, and then people are sad. What? Madness. So that's great. And the other thing was, it started to get fun. It started to get into some tropes again, which is kind of what Scream was all about.
Sure.
We finally got to see something we've actually never seen in a Scream movie before, which is like the killer's lair.
Right.
That's something that we've never really approached. We've never gotten to know a killer well enough to go into their realm, and I'm glad they at least referenced the fact that this is a really implausible lair.
Well, yeah, exactly. I like that they turn it around to the fact that this could be a completely art-directed lair, by the way, you know.
And that's one point that I wanted to bring up. So many harsh critics on this show, right? And saying it's
Including
silly.
us.
Yeah, and we are as well. But like most people who are harsh critics about it say, "Oh, this is so silly. This would never happen." It of course wouldn't. It's a slasher movie. Like the moment where
it's Scream
it's
specifically.
Scream. And
you know,
the moment when they walk into the lair, and what is it? Emma says to Audrey, Audrey says to Emma, we should split up, like basically winking at the camera. That's funny.
Right.
That's what it's supposed to
That's
do.
a Cabin in the Woods joke.
That is what it's supposed to do, and that's what it hasn't been doing, which is why I think people have had that reaction. The Scream television series has not been full of winks. It's been full of monologues, just sort of reminding us, we had these scripts before, and we had to make it Scream, so we have some monologues. And I think we're starting to get to the point where it's starting to feel more like Scream. It's starting to feel where that kind of thing, like, oh, this would never happen, feels more in place. Because before they were playing it very straight.
Yeah.
For a lot of it, and it could have just been any teen show that happened to have a killer in it.
Yeah.
Well, once the word blackmail was uttered, and I realized that the mayor of the town was Sal from Mad Men, I was like, oh, we have our homosexual.
Oh.
Well, actually, another one because we've already got Audrey too. But
Well, she's bi-curious.
She's bi-curious. You're right.
So yeah, I was trying to figure that out. I felt that
Her bi-curiousness?
No, not that.
Okay.
That was clear.
right.
With the mayor, I felt like, okay, the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. She's getting involved with an older man. I thought the mayor was involved with the Bella Thorne character. That's why that videotape came out. And
That could be where they're going.
That could be it. But again,
They haven't
it's
clarified.
Sal from Mad Men. So
Here's what I'm thinking. You know, they have like, oh, we have all of these blackmail tapes. How much money does Emma have? They're gonna blackmail her with video of her first time.
Yeah.
You know, I would have been. It sounds just it's sort of a sucker punch. And for me, I was like, if you're gonna do this whole thing where like this video leaks out, if you really wanted to throw like a
it's
monkey
the mayor,
into
right?
the wrench pot, you could.
Will is one of the blackmailers, though, right?
Well, the two.
Will is one of the blackmailers.
I guess, yeah.
So maybe Bella Thorne was hanging on to that as like an insurance
Leverage over
policy.
him. Yeah.
Exactly.
Now everyone will know you had sex with a hot chick.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that doesn't really
your
work, does it?
reputation is ruined.
Okay, maybe she's just a collector. I don't know.
So that's why. And when you see the mayor opening up his text, another $100,000, right? They're trying to demand from him. So he's the one that they're trying to blackmail.
Yeah.
Do they know that's who they're trying to blackmail?
I think they do. They have a cell phone number. They have him on video.
Or I thought they
have to know.
I thought they said it was just like he's anonymous. If he backs down, we walk.
Well, we're anonymous. He doesn't know who we
they're
are.
anonymous.
If he doesn't say like screw you, it's like, okay, well, we have nothing. We're just gonna get away. But yeah, it's this whole. I still get this huge Twin Peaks vibe off of that entire subplot with the teens and like the drugs and it's it never.
Another show with better acters than this one.
Another show with better actors. I'm trying to think like who's actually like. I like Audrey.
I do like Audrey.
A young actress named Bex something.
Yeah,
and
Bex, yeah.
I've liked her in everything I've seen her in, but she always plays this character. She played that character on Arrow. She played that character on The
she was in
Killing.
Arrow?
She is an Arrow.
She is an Arrow.
Well, semi-regular. She
Recurring.
pops up from now and then. But she's got a niche, and she plays this character. She's like the new Winona Ryder.
Yeah.
And I like her a lot, and she's really, really great.
Noah's okay in this episode. I feel that I didn't believe his mourning as much. Like that's what I felt like he would have been more distraught.
He was not. Yeah, he was not exactly racked with grief, but
he's suspicious as well.
And I have to say, the woman doing the podcast really gets saddled with some of the most like zeitgeisty lines. Where that she had to wedge the words podcaster and barista into one sentence. It was like, you're really overloading this woman with a lot of the nowness of this show.
I do like that character though, and I like that there actually is like a Courtney Cox character.
Sure.
Yeah.
In this, and I like that she's the podcaster, and they're playing off of
Serial.
Serial, yeah, they're playing off the popularity of Serial. All of that makes sense. I want to see her do more, like actually have her be an investigative reporter, because right now all she is just sort of standing there.
Right.
And
she drinks a lot of coffee.
She drinks a lot of coffee, and she looks fabulous in those glasses, but she's not getting to do enough. And like the whole thing of reporter is you go in and you shake things up.
Right. Yeah.
And that's what I want to see. That's one of the things that made Gail such a great
Yeah,
character in the
she
Scream
should have
show.
been asking the impertinent questions at the sheriff's press conference
Yeah.
and not
Yeah,
and
Audrey.
she-
or with
actually,
Audrey.
basically.
And if she was really Courtney Cox-esque, she wouldn't need a word from one of the teens who are involved for her to stick around. Like, she would use her initiative right now to understand that there's something that's not exactly pieced together, and she would stay anyway without going, should I stay or should I go?
Well, in all fairness, the police are saying we got the guy. And there hasn't been a murder since, so there's not really evidence to support anything else at the moment. We got a guy, he just happened to not have a head, and he happened to be in a car chase with the cops while he was killing someone else. But other than that, we think this case is pretty much closed.
Well, I
So
mean,
well
did
done,
it
everybody.
did it never occur to anyone that, like, Tyler died at the same time and the body was just removed? Like, that scenario never even enters on anyone's list. It's all like, Tyler's missing, he must be responsible, you know.
Well, that's another Scream thing. Dad's not here. He must be responsible.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
But I don't know. I can see why the police might think that's kind of tidy, but it also feels like the sort of thing that a good forensic scientist, like supposedly Emma's mom, would probably figure out after examining the body. So like the killer only has like a couple of days before she realized this body died a week ago.
Yeah.
Right. Well, she did, like you said, she did do. She is running some kind of
autopsy.
DNA test that's going to take a couple of days.
Yeah, exactly.
So they're not
So, like,
completely without.
it's just a
clues,
matter
you
of
know.
time, I think, is really the issue.
Have we got any early suggestions to what we think Emma's father is involved in this? Because
Well,
I just don't see where he fits in. He's the only son,
My
right?
assumption that her real father is Brandon
Brandon
James.
James, that was
So that
what-
seems to be
Madness.
that seems to be what they
Right.
keep telling us without telling us.
But there was another man in her life to whom I guess she did marry, who is now gone because they keep referencing him. They talk about him. And that, for me, screams reasonably big actor shows up halfway through the season. You know, like Dean Cain shows up all of a sudden. And it's just like, oh, shit, they got Dean Cain. Well done, Scream. I don't know why Dean Cain. You know what's one thing that kind of bothers me is like I feel like there's so many wonderful, because this is the thing with this show. It's all about social media, and it does it in a way that's actually kind of interesting, and I like that it's so incorporated. But it's not about horror anymore. It's not about a horror reference. In fact, there's only like one actor on the show who even has any horror chops, and that's Emma's mom, who was the babysitter from Wes Craven's New Nightmare. Like
really?
everyone else on this show, I mean, I'm sure that some of them have done stuff, but there isn't anyone who's just like, you know, there's so much opportunity with a TV show, so many guest stars, so many cameos you could do to sort of build it up, and everything feels so very constrained.
But think about it though. The Scream movies did not cast like Robert Englund or Jamie Lee Curtis. They cast Glenn Hadley and
Lance
Jada
Henriksen.
Pinkett. So okay, Lance Henriksen, that one. But for the
Okay.
most part, they were not digging into like the
I know.
horror bullpen.
I'm not saying that that's an earmark of Scream. I'm just saying it frustrates me that the show has turned Scream from something that was about the influence of popular culture,
Sure.
which is the sort of definition of Scream, the movie, not the actual word. Don't look that up, and turned it into this thing about social media. Now that's again, I don't think it's bad. I just don't know why it's called Scream anymore. If it's going to be, that's the whole gist.
I mean, I think they're trying to do for the teens what Scream was for the 90s. And,
so kids don't watch TV anymore.
Well, they don't watch TV on
Watch
TV
it online
anymore.
on
They
their phone.
watch it online. It's become part of their overall digital content diet.
And now you don't just tell people you hate them. You have a poll, and people will vote now. And
I
whether
like
they
the
hate
poll.
them.
The poll is pretty great, and I hope the killer actually set up that poll, and that means Brooke's going to die. I think that would actually be kind of a neat twist. I thought
But
that was
if they
fun.
did that, is she not the only one that you can kind of see some sort of character development in?
Yeah, which is why she's
Yeah,
probably going to die.
I will say
now that we
this.
like her, she can die.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I think the killing Riley this week or last week,
and
and
aftermath
yes,
this week.
I think officially sets this show on a path of like, no, really, anyone can die, because the ones they'd killed thus far were fairly secondary characters. Some of them likable, some of them not. But now we're getting into the A team.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I don't know if she was the A team. She was definitely the B plus team.
Okay,
the A team.
fair enough.
The A team is very clearly Emma, Audrey, Noah, and Emma's mom.
Right.
I think those are the ones. If any of them die, I'm like, oh, good.
Okay, you're right.
Gloves are off.
Those are the indispensables, granted. But,
For now.
but Riley was high up on people who could or couldn't
Especially
die,
likable
you know.
very early.
Yeah, absolutely.
She
Yeah.
was-
Which is why she just had a big target on her back.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, she seems really nice. Get her.
Get her.
Yeah, she's not the protagonist. Get her.
So yeah, I don't know. I'm still curious to see how this is going to go. I'm not loving this show, but I think it's also not a total waste.
I think it's interesting to see how it is adapting something that was very much of its time into something that is, nothing else, you can't deny, it's very much of this time.
Sure.
This show would not exist 10 years ago.
No, absolutely. And I think maybe
that's interesting.
maybe the way for it to be the most of its time would be if it only existed on YouTube or something.
Yeah.
But they seem to be running out of ways to kill people through new forms of social media because they use Snapchat, they use FaceTime, they use, what else did they use? They use something else. Now there's no other forms of digital media that they can, and maybe they can use someone else.
They haven't.
Tinder. They're going to kill someone through Tinder.
Swipe. No. Periscope. They haven't periscoped anybody yet.
Yeah. Or Instagram. They could have chose a filter maybe to see.
I like that. But if you put the
Hashtag no
filter on, you
filter.
see the clue. Yeah, that's there you go.
next one.
Here's the thing. I'm going to stop complaining about the pop culture references thing because clearly that's just not where they're going.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to focus on what they're doing well, which is the social media thing. But one thing I don't know if they're doing well is making us wonder who the killer is. Now, obviously, there's like that Brandon James guy, but if it's just him, that's not really much of a mystery, and why even have a mystery?
Yeah.
So there's got to be accomplices, there's got to be other people involved. One of the things with Scream is that there's usually more than one killer.
Sure.
Who do you think, at this moment, if you had to guess
man.
right now, who do you think is at least an accomplice?
Okay, so I'll go into reasoning first, right? Because the first thing is, I would like if it was very obvious. So obvious that you don't think it. You know what I mean? If it was someone like Noah. Like if he just had if he just had somewhat of a sadistic side to him where he was so involved in this past of the serial killer that he's fascinated with that he just wanted to reincarnate it and make everyone believe that he actually liked someone and he would never do that. That would be actually a cool twist. But at the moment, maybe Will. That's what I'm thinking, perhaps.
See, I've got Will on the too obvious list.
Which one's Will?
The blonde job.
The
blonde job. Yeah, too
the
obvious.
terrible basketball player who
Totally
got
too
into Duke.
obvious. I don't buy that a guy who's that can't even handle the blackmail thing would be this smart and this clever to do the serial killer thing.
I'm going to go with the sheriff's son.
I was
Yeah,
going
we
to go with the
haven't seen-
sheriff,
where is
actually.
Oh, okay.
We haven't seen him in the last two
I don't think he had
episodes.
much to do with this one because he didn't know Riley, and this is all very much Who
Riley,
Loves
yeah.
Riley kind of episode. I'm sure he'll be
I
back.
think he got paired off with somebody in the English class assignment, but I forget who now.
Oh, yeah,
I
like,
thought
that
it
got
was
totally
it not
dropped. I'm
Emma?
assuming they didn't
Emma
have to
that he
finish
got
that
paired off
assignment.
with? Yeah, 'cause
Oh,
they
yes,
went
that's
investigative.
right. He got paired off with
So,
Emma and that thing.
He's just
yeah.
been put on
Yeah.
the back burner right now.
Yeah, no, I seriously
So I
think-
watched 2 episodes yesterday. They're all mashing
Yeah,
together.
no, I seriously think the sheriff is the one who has all the opportunity. He's got the history. Maybe he had his whole face fixed, and now he gets to date the woman he always wanted. Maybe he's Brandon all along.
Maybe
I don't know.
Is it possible that he could be Emma's dad and he might have been envious? I have this weird theory that Emma's mom had something going on with Brandon James and that's why he went on this killing spree.
Sure, yeah.
So
I thought
maybe,
that weird. It makes sense.
So maybe he was involved some way and he got, maybe this is his way of acting revenge on what previously had happened.
Yeah. Podcaster. Podcaster.
Or the podcast, yeah.
It's hard to follow
that's-
up a hit season of Serial. You
You got to make your
actually
own
kill somebody
sometimes.
to
So
make
we'll
it
have a
work.
better idea next week, or maybe we won't. Who
And let us
knows?
know who you think did it. We're very curious.
Sure. Join us then.